Welcome back to AR Tales. Today's story is about a fiancée who tried to cancel a wedding for someone better, only to find out her fiancé had been quietly planning his exit for months. As you listen, ask yourself what you would do when you realize you're the backup plan. I'm Ryan, 29, and I'm sitting in an empty apartment with boxes stacked everywhere. My lease ends tomorrow. 6 hours ago, my fiancée Natalie, 27, sat me down for the talk. Our wedding was 8 weeks away. She was wearing the dress I bought her for her birthday, hair done like she was headed somewhere special. That should have been my first clue. She didn't even warm up to it. "We need to cancel the wedding," she said, staring at a spot on the floor. "I found someone better." Those words hit exactly like I knew they would, because I'd been preparing for this moment for 3 months. "Already done," I said, her head snapped up. "What?" "I canceled everything last week. Venue, catering, photographer. I got most of the deposits back too." She just stared at me like I'd spoken a different language. In her mind, this was supposed to be a dramatic scene. She drops the bomb, I beg. She leaves feeling superior. Instead, I was calm. I was ready. This is the part where people think you're cold, but sometimes calm is not a lack of feelings. It's a sign you've been grieving quietly for a long time. She tried to recover fast. "Well, good, makes this easier. I'll pack my things." "And your things are already in the garage," I said. 3 boxes, labeled. Another stunned look. "You packed my stuff." "Tuesday," I said, "while you were at your book club." She flinched at that. Not because she felt guilty, but because she realized I'd stopped buying the story. Here's what Natalie didn't know. I found out about Garrett 3 months ago. Garrett is 31, a coworker of hers, and the kind of guy who dresses like he's always on his way to a dinner he didn't pay for. I didn't snoop to find him. Natalie left her iPad on the kitchen counter, logged into her messages. One glance was enough. I saw his name. I saw the tone. I saw the way she talked to him like she hadn't talked to me in months. Instead of confronting her, I got strategic. First thing I did was talk to a lawyer. We weren't married yet, but we'd lived together for 2 years, and I wanted to know exactly what my rights were and what my risks were. I didn't want to do something emotional that would cost me later. Then I looked at the part that always reveals the truth in relationships. The money. We'd been saving for a wedding and a house. Natalie insisted our savings stay separate, not joint. I controlled mine. She controlled hers. We were supposed to combine them after the wedding. I ignored how strange it felt. I told myself she was just being responsible. But I also learned something important in those 3 months. There's a difference between separate and secret. Natalie had a second savings account I wasn't supposed to know about. Months earlier, she'd asked me to help her set up online banking. I remembered enough to recognize what I was seeing later, and when I checked, I found she'd been moving money out of our wedding fund. About $200 a month. That secret account was sitting around $4,800, and here's the part she really didn't understand. That account was still tied to an old checking account from college. Her parents had co-signed it. Because of how the bank had it set up, her dad, Theodore, was still a joint owner. Theodore also happens to despise cheaters. His first wife left him for another man, and it hardened something in him. Over time, he and I actually got close. We'd had lunch not long ago where I casually mentioned Natalie seemed distant lately. I wasn't trying to recruit him. I just told the truth, calmly, and let the pieces sit where they landed. Back in my apartment, Natalie tried to grab control again. "I'm taking my money from the wedding account," she said. "All of it." "Sure," I said. "Your contributions are yours." I pulled out my phone and showed her the transfer. "I already sent your $3,600 back to your checking this morning." "That's it," she said, eyes narrowing. "What about the rest?" "What rest?" I asked. "That's exactly what you put in." She went pale, doing mental math in real time. See, she'd been telling me she was contributing $500 a month, but she was only putting in $300. The other $200 went to her secret account. She thought she was building a cushion for her new life. She didn't realize she was building evidence. "This isn't right," she said. I saved more than that. No, I said. You told me you saved more than that. A long silence. Then she stood up, angry now. Fine. Whatever. Garrett makes 3 times what you do anyway. There it was. The first time she said his name out loud like it was a victory. Good for Garrett, I said. Hope he's cool with your spending habits, she blinked. What's that supposed to mean? I shrugged. Nothing. Just interesting that you bought a $400 purse last week while telling me we needed to cut back on wedding expenses. That's the thing about people who plan exits. They usually start spending like the old life is already over, but they still want you to fund the goodbye. She grabbed her phone and started texting furiously. Probably him. Probably calling him to come rescue her and confirm she'd upgraded. Then I added one more thing casually. Oh, and you might want to check your secret savings. She froze. How do you, Natalie? I said. You're not exactly a mastermind. She opened her banking app. I watched her face change as she saw the balance and realized something had happened. What did you do? She snapped. Me, I said. Nothing. Your dad, though. He saw unusual activity on an account he co-owns, so he moved the money to protect it. You should call him. The next 20 minutes were pure chaos. She called Theodore, screaming about theft, demanding her money back. I could hear his voice through the phone, calm and flat. Natasha, he said, I learned some interesting things. That money was for your wedding, not your affair. It's in a term deposit now. She shouted louder. Then Theodore dropped the line that made her go quiet. You can have it when you actually marry someone who isn't already married. Natalie's head lifted slowly. What? Because that was the other thing. Garrett was married. 2 kids. Theodore found out through a friend. Small world, and people talk when you give them a reason. Natalie hung up and stared at me with a kind of hatred that didn't even look like anger. It looked like blame searching for a place to land. You vindictive piece of. Natalie, I said, you were planning to humiliate me. You let me send out wedding invitations while you were picking outfits for dates with another man. I'm not ruining your life. I'm refusing to be part of your plan. I'll sue you, she said. And my father. For what? I asked. I didn't touch your money, and I returned every penny you actually contributed. Then she called Garrett. She put it on speaker by accident, like her hands were shaking too much to think. His voice came through, annoyed. Nat, I told you not to call my work phone. About tonight, she rushed. I left Ryan. I need you to come get me. A pause. Left him, Garrett said, slower now. What do you mean left him? I told him about us, she said, like we planned. Another pause, then his voice turned colder. We didn't plan anything. I have to go. Click. And just like that, her fantasy collapsed in one sound. No wedding, no fiancé, no backup plan, no secret savings she could access, no apartment. The lease was in my name only. She made a few more calls. Friends who were suddenly busy. Her sister who couldn't deal with this drama right now. Finally, she called an Uber to her mom's house. As she dragged her boxes to the door, she turned back one last time. I hope you're happy, she said. You ruined everything. No, I said. You ruined everything. I just refuse to let you ruin me too. She left without another word. I moved the next day. New city. New job lined up. A clean break that I'd been arranging quietly while she thought she was the one holding all the cards. A few days later, while I was staying at an extended stay hotel apartment hunting, I woke up to 19 emails from Natalie. They started angry. You're a sociopath. Then bargaining. Can we talk? I made a mistake. Then threats. I know where you work now. I'll tell them what kind of person you are. That one actually made me laugh because she thought she knew where I worked from LinkedIn. I hadn't even started yet. Around the same time, Theodore texted me. Ryan, hope you're settling in. Natalie tried to access the term deposit. The bank flagged it. I had to secure my accounts. Also, she's telling people you manipulated you. The irony was heavy. The person who lied for months was now claiming manipulation. He sent a screenshot of her text to him. Dad, you have to give me my money. Ryan poisoned you. Garrett was just a friend. Nothing happened. I need that money for a new apartment. This is financial abuse. Theodore's reply was simple. The only abuse I see is the abuse of trust. The money stays where it is. Then I got a call from the wedding venue. They had a generous cancellation policy, full refund if canceled more than 6 weeks out. The deposit came back, $3,000 onto the card that paid it. My card. Natalie only found out because she tried to call the venue to change the date for her and Garrett. That's when she learned there was no date to change. She emailed me furious. "That venue money is half mine. You stole from me." I sent it to my lawyer buddy from college. He laughed and said, "She wants half of a refund for a wedding she ended." And then the final part of that first wave of karma landed. Someone I knew adjacent to Garrett's company told me Garrett got placed on administrative leave. Turns out using a company credit card to fund your secret dates looks bad when your wife's divorce lawyer subpoenas the records. So Natalie's trade up ended with her losing me, losing housing, losing access to the secret savings, and losing the married man who was never planning to pick her. Meanwhile, I had a new job that paid 40% more, a fresh start, and quiet. That quiet bothered her, because some people don't want you to heal. They want you to chase them, so they can stay the main character in your pain. Natalie tried legal pressure next. She hired a lawyer to sue for emotional damages, her share of the venue refund, the stolen savings, and even lost wages from having to move back with her mom. That lawyer lasted one consultation. Then Natalie tried the social angle. She called mutual friends, wedding guests, anyone who would answer, spinning a story about financial abuse and how I forced her into cheating by being emotionally unavailable. The problem was, our friends weren't idiots. Her best friend Jess called me and said, "Did Natalie really claim you made her date Garrett? Because she told me 3 months ago she was in love with him and planning to leave you after the wedding so she could get the gifts first." That was a quiet moment for me, not dramatic. Just a slow realization that the person I planned to marry had been treating the wedding like a shopping strategy. Jess didn't even sound shocked saying it. She sounded tired. Then Natalie went after Garrett. She called his work. Showed up at his office. Demanded he take responsibility for ruining her life. Security escorted her out twice. Garrett, trying to save his marriage and job, threw her under the bus and told his wife Natalie pursued him relentlessly and misread signals. Natalie started getting legal letters, a cease and desist from Garrett's divorce lawyer, and a formal trespass warning from the company. She emailed me again. "Look what you caused. Garrett's wife is threatening a restraining order. This is your fault." And at some point, you just have to accept you cannot argue someone out of a reality they benefit from denying. Then came the most desperate move of all. My old apartment manager, Rosa, called me. She sounded embarrassed. "Mr. Ryan, I'm sorry to bother you, but we have a situation. Miss Natalie is here demanding we let her into your old unit. She says she has property there." I told Rosa, "I moved out days ago. The unit is empty." "I know, sir," Rosa said. "I told her that. She insists you hid her grandmother's ring somewhere in the apartment." Her grandmother's ring, a family heirloom she never had. Natalie was trying to get access to an empty apartment to snoop for anything valuable she thought I might have left behind. I could hear her screaming in the background about theft, heirlooms, legal rights. I told Rosa not to let her in. If she wouldn't leave, call the police. 10 minutes later, Rosa texted. The police came. Natalie left, angry. Later, Jess told me the truth. Natalie thought I might have forgotten something valuable. Cash, documents, maybe a forwarding address. She invented a ring as an excuse to get inside. Around that same time, Theodore told me Natalie asked him to claim the ring was worth $50,000 so she could file an insurance claim. That was the moment I stopped feeling anything but relief that I was gone. I started my new job, found a place downtown. Life got quieter and better. Natalie was living with her mom, unemployed and still sending rants I wasn't reading. Then the emails stopped, for 3 weeks, and that silence should have warned me. My buddy Keith from my old city called me and said, "Dude, did you know Natalie's been telling people you died?" I thought he was joking. He wasn't. She posted black and white photos of us, long grief posts, and started a GoFundMe for funeral expenses and time to heal. She raised $3,200. People asked questions. What happened? Where's the obituary? When's the funeral? Her answers kept changing. Car accident. No workplace accident. Actually sudden illness. Private funeral. No service. Cremation. Then a former coworker of mine, Pablo, commented publicly, "That's weird because Ryan endorsed me on LinkedIn yesterday." The comments exploded. People demanded refunds. Threatened to report her for fraud. Natalie tried to pivot. "It's a metaphor. He's dead to me. You all misunderstood." Nobody bought it. The GoFundMe got shut down. She had to refund people. Multiple reports went in. Then Theodore called me laughing so hard he could barely breathe. "Ryan, she asked me to confirm you died so she could claim your life insurance." That sentence alone tells you how far her thinking had drifted from reality. And then, in one last attempt to control the story, Natalie decided to expose me first. She created a website. A whole page about my truth, filled with what she claimed was evidence of my abuse. Screenshots of me replying okay when she said she was staying late. Bank statements. Photos of her boxes in my garage. Then she sent the link to everyone she could find. Friends, family, people from my old job. She even tried to find my new company. One problem. She accidentally included screenshots of her own texts to Garrett, the ones where she called me pathetic, where she admitted she was using me, where she laughed about hiding money, where she talked about waiting until after the wedding for gifts. She built her own case against herself and handed it to the entire internet. My Aunt Martha's comment was the most perfect summary I've ever seen. "Sweetheart, this website makes you look like the villain, not him." The site lasted 3 days before she took it down, but screenshots lived forever. After that, Natalie became radioactive in our old social circle. Even people who tried to stay neutral were done. The fake death fundraiser was the final straw. Garrett's divorce went through. He lost his job and was paying heavy support. His ex-wife even messaged me once, thanking me for getting Natalie away from her marriage. Theodore effectively cut Natalie off. Not legally, but in every way that mattered. And the term deposit Natalie thought was her escape fund, Theodore donated to a charity for struggling single mothers. Natalie's mom kicked her out after the police showed up asking questions about the fraud reports. Last I heard, Natalie was couch surfing and working at a cell phone kiosk in a mall, telling anyone who would listen that she was the victim of a grand conspiracy. Meanwhile, I'm here in a new city in a new apartment with a job that actually values me. I started dating someone, slow, careful, healthy. She's honest, independent. She has her own goals and her own life, which is now the biggest green flag I can imagine. Funny thing about consequences. Natalie spent so much energy trying to avoid them, trying to scheme around them, that she created worse ones for herself. If she had just ended things honestly, she'd still have her $3,600, her dignity, and a normal breakup story. Instead, she tried to play everyone and ended up playing herself. And I'm done thinking about her. Lesson 1: when someone says they found someone better, believe them the first time and step back. Lesson 2: separate finances can be healthy, but secrecy and deception are not boundaries, they're warning signs. Lesson 3: people who cheat often try to rewrite the story so they look brave and you look cruel. Evidence breaks that spell. Lesson 4: if someone's plan depends on you not noticing patterns, the relationship is already over. Lesson 5: the best protection is clarity, documentation, and distance, not revenge. So what would you have done if your fiancé sat you down and said, "Cancel the wedding, I found someone better"? Would you confront right away, or would you quietly get 3 steps ahead? And have you ever watched someone try to dodge consequences and end up making them worse? Tell your story in the comments.